Tonight, James McAvoy goes mad again in Speak No Evil, and it's time to give a so-so notice to Ian McKellen's The Critic. Welcome to McAvoy at the Movies. Speak No Evil is a remake of a Danish movie also called Speak No Evil, about a family who go on holiday and encounter another family. Yes, that kind of horror. You think, God, isn't it awful when you go on holiday and you're trying to enjoy time with your kids and just relax, and then then you meet another family and it's all middle class manners, isn't? Oh no, do join me for dinner. Do have a glass of wine with us. Oh, your kid can play with my kid, and we can just pretend to be friends, and then hopefully never see each other again once the whole awful forced marriage of convenience is over. We've all been there. Well, I haven't, but you have. And so we can all relate to the American family in Speak No Evil, who bump into James McAvoy and his creepy Devonshire wife and their mute child. Yeah, that's right, mute child. A child that's got only half a tongue due to some medical condition, that conveniently means that they can't speak. If that kid could talk, I'm sure he'd have a few stories to tell. But it turns out he does have a few stories to tell, but that's later in the movie. So, the nice American couple, who are reasonably normal in that they've got serious psychosexual problems, bedeviling their relationship, and their daughter's in therapy and needs a little toy rabbit to stay sane. So your average American family go back to London. They live in London because of Dad's job, and they get an invite from McAvoy's family to come and join them in Devon. Now, none of us normally would go to Devon because, as we know, particularly those of us who might have lived in Cornwall, that Devon is a sinister place full of sociopaths and lunatics and schizoids and spacs and people who prepare a cream tea the wrong way. But perhaps because this is an American family, they don't know this. So they accept the invitation and they end up at a creepy little farmhouse in Devon, which of course is in the middle of King Nowhere, with McAvoy's fam, and a lot of weird tension ensues. You know something is wrong with McAvoy. Of course there is. Something's wrong with that family, but you don't know what it is. You suspect the worst, but you don't know. And so the whole movie is an exercise in the incremental build-up of tension. Awful tension. Palpable tension. Chewy tension. The kind that you feel like tannin on your teeth. And as it goes on, building to what one imagines to be an awful revelation, you start to get nervous because, look, manners are one thing, but there's only so long that, you can keep up the pretense. If you're in a house full of weirdos, you're in a house full of weirdos. And of course, this being a modern thriller, it's the wife who intuits that something is wrong, while the sort of emasculated husband, who's been the victim of cheating by the wife who didn't find him quite virile or sexually exciting enough, tries to rationalise the whole thing as, just being in the presence of a few oddballs. So there's some nicely observed differences between American and English manners, which are quite interesting. But really, even though this is a remake, and obviously in the original movie the families were Danish or what have you, what's been sent up here really is the propensity of middle-class people to be so buttoned up that even when they're faced with what's quite clearly an extremely volatile and implicitly dangerous situation, they will just simply keep it to themselves and, not want to say anything. Oh, no, I couldn't possibly. You that's you're boiling a severed head. No, I'm vegetarian. I'm sorry. I couldn't possibly. I couldn't have a bit of. No, 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 no. I don't want to watch the two of you fucking. Me and my husband aren't into that. No, no, please. I've got a headache. I'm just gonna go to bed. I'll leave you to masturbate over those dead kittens. Okay. See you. Good night. Bye. Bye. That's something like that is what you get for the best part of 2 hours. Of course, it does all blow up, but it blows up in a cinematically pleasing and gleefully sadistic way. But with one key difference, and this is where we get into spoiler territory. In the original Scandinavian version, which you may have seen because you're more cultured than me. Of course, I don't watch movies in foreign languages. It would be absurd. But you may have seen it. And so you will know that in the Danish version of Speak No Evil, the family, the McAvoys of that movie, if you like, kill their intended victims, brutalise the daughter, and stone the poor parents to death. Spoilers, that does not happen in this version. This has a more traditional horror, American horror ending in which the bad people are dispatched and the good people survive their terrible ordeal and live to tell the tale. I much prefer the Americanized version. Oh, what's that? You saying, Dr. McAvoy? I thought you were a cultured being. I thought you'd go for that sort of nihilistic, bleak, life is worthless and meaningless and let's revel in sadism type, Scandi kind of bullshit. No. And I'll tell you why. Because the Scandinavian ending, if you like, is an ending that hates its audience. It's an ending that hates you. The audience proxies in this movie are the nice family, the American family, with that are slightly troubled, but not nearly as troubled as McAvoy. So it would be, in my view, quite wrong for the audience proxies not to survive the movie. The fact that they do survive the movie, spoiler, is indicative of a worldview in which you enjoy this all of the good aspects of the story, the psychological tension, the almost comedy of manners, if you like, the well observed nuances of middle class life, and there is class tension there because, of course, McAvoy's family are yokels, but they yokels with middle class trappings. That produces a little bit of tension as well. But you also get the humane ending, the one that you can live with. And I think that's very important because I don't like movies that hate their audience. I like movies that entertain the audience and put them through the ringer, certainly, but give some catharsis at the end. So for that reason and that reason alone, I would rather see this version of Speak No Evil than the original Danish version. But it is an excellent thriller. It maintains a vice-like grip on tension for much of its running time. The performances are uniformly excellent. McAvoy in particular is extremely entertaining. The fact he edges it throughout before finally blowing up, but it's a wonderfully sadistic and sinister turn, and the movie's extremely tightly directed by James Watkins. You should absolutely go and see it, and when you do, you'll be convinced, I'm sure, never to go to Devon ever again. And before we get on to the next movie, here's a scene of me drinking some tea. Next up is The Critic. That's Patrick Marber's adaptation of Anthony Quinn's novel The Curtain Call, a novel I've never read, but that's okay because you haven't read it either. What's it about? It's about a homosexual theatre critic. You might say, is there any other kind? In 1930s London, who writes for a right-wing popular newspaper. Again, you might say, is there any other kind? And he becomes embroiled in a bit of a blackmail plot involving the new proprietor of the magazine, a sort of surrogate for Lord Rothermere, who wishes to prematurely retire him for both his negativity in his notices and his homosexual indiscretions, which of course are bringing the right-wing rag into disrepute, or would do if the readers knew anything about it, which they don't. So you have craggy Ian McKellen, whose face fits the part absolutely perfectly as the sort of slightly pompous, very grand, self-important theatre critic. He's been at it 40 years. He has an assistant / gay lover, live-in lover to help transcribe the reviews and to, act as a sort of human thesaurus. And he chances on a very bad performance, as he sees it, by Jenna Arterton's theatrical doyen, and what follows is a sort of protracted thriller, which is fine in the sense that it's full of atmosphere and a little bit of budget period detail, and the cast is uniformly great. You have Mark Strong there, as well as the aforementioned Gemma Arterton, as well as Ian McKellen, of course, who's always great. And Ian McKellen here is doing a sort of variant on the turn he did in that movie in which he played a geriatric Nazi. You remember the one, don't you? I can't remember what the hell it was called, but he was dating Helen Mirren, and you know the one. So look, all it should therefore be an extremely exciting and enjoyable period thriller. So what's wrong with The Critic? Well, the problem is it's all build up and very little payoff. All of this blackmail we understand from the IMDb summaries leading to murder, but we wait patiently for said murder to occur and for the consequences to unfold in movie. But they don't, and we watch and we wait and we wait and we wait, but it's all build up. It's all, incremental. It's all a little bit of situationism as, the characters intersect and intertwine and go through their various arcs and work toward what we suppose is going to be some sort of hugely exciting denouement, which never really comes. Or to put it another way, when the payoff that we are expecting does come, it comes so late in the movie that the movie has nothing else to do but end. Whereas if it had happened much earlier, say at the end of, I don't know, like the first act, for example, then this could have been a movie about a man who was fighting to maintain his treasured career in the face of encircling forces. And there's a lot of potential in that sort of plot. I know because, I'm just saying there are some novels out there in which you can buy now, wherever books are sold, where the plot does payoff in that respect very early on. And the rest of the book is about a morally ambiguous antagonist, as Ian McKellen is in this story, trying to stay ahead of the law and maintain both his freedom and his outlook. I mean, one wonders what I don't know, such a story might look like that told that kind of story effectively in a really interesting, intriguing, and psychologically exciting way. But it's not for me to say. Only that Patrick Marber, in his adaptation of Anthony Quinn's novel, couldn't pull it off. What a shame, because, well, all the ingredients were there, but unfortunately, the requisite plotting was not. And I'm not saying that the movie drags on a little bit, or that it fizzles out, or it gets a little boring toward the end, but in the screening I was in, a guy fell asleep and started to snore throughout the last half hour of the film, and was in such a deep sleep that it took 3 members of staff to wake him up at the end. And that, you might think, is the quintessential review of the Critic. We like to see Ian McKellen in this sort of thing. We like these sorts of period thrillers. We like to see these sorts of movies in the cinema where they belong, not on streaming. But please, please, I beg of you, the cottage industry that is British movies, if you are going to make this sort of film, for God's sake, don't forget to plot it properly and give us the actual thrills and the intrigue that we're expecting, rather than promising to give it to us for 2 hours, only to tack it on at the end as if, you know, it was half remembered. Both Speak No Evil and The Critic are certified 15 for all sorts of psychosexual shenanigans, and they're in cinemas now. And yeah, maybe you should go and see them both, as I did, but you know, you won't. Thank you for watching this videogram presentation.